Kingdom Hearts 3 from a noob's perspective. That is right, I have not played any Kingdom Hearts games, so today we're going to go over what it's like to actually dive into Kingdom Hearts 3 if you haven't played the entire series yet. Here we go. Of Wormys Playhouse, and that is right, I have never played any Kingdom Hearts game, so this will be my first dive into the series. So what we're going to be covering today is what it's like to actually play Kingdom Hearts 3 from the perspective of someone who hasn't played any of the Kingdom Hearts games yet, and whether or not, if you have yet to play any Kingdom Hearts game, should you jump into the third one now. We're going to be covering 3 topics in today's episode. We're going to be covering the graphics, we're going to cover the gameplay, and we're going to be covering the story. So here we go. Graphically wise and art style, Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely the best in this series. The series goes all the way back to the PlayStation 2 era, with 1 and 2 on that console, and then you have some PSP games, and even on the Nintendo 3DS. Yes, Kingdom Hearts games have been on a Nintendo console, but they've really outdone themselves with the graphics in the third game. The visuals alone are just so beautiful. You could be just standing in the world, just looking out into the horizon, and it is just so breathtaking. They really managed to capture a beautiful art style in this game. The cartoony graphics and anime style between Final Fantasy and Disney, they really know how to merge those two worlds together in a wonderful way, which leads into each one of the different Disney worlds. They really capture the essence of each of those Disney movies. You feel like you're actually playing in that movie, in that world. And that is what I find so amazing about this game. How they can just bring that art style to life. And each world in itself has its own art style. Each one of them is slightly different from the next. It's a slight difference between them, but you can visually see it, and it really fits well with the setting. So visually speaking, they did a great job with the graphics, being able to take each one of the worlds and have its own artistic style to them. Taking the graphics from each world and being able to match them to their movie counterparts is a win in my book. So for the graphics, Kingdom Hearts 3 gets a win. Gameplay and combat, arguably the most important of any video game, because if you're not enjoying the combat, you're just overall not going to enjoy the game. There's a lot of different abilities thrown into this game, a lot of different combat moves, you have different weapons, different magic abilities. Once I realized the magic in this game, that this is where it came together. This is where I started to feel OP. I was overpowered to the max. You get different keyblades, and you can switch your keyblades out at your free will. You get to hold up to 3 max in your inventory slot, and you can just switch them out on the fly just like that, with each one of them having either a stronger offense ability or a stronger magic ability. And I have to say, the magic is definitely the most overpowered in this game. There's a whole inventory system to this game, with all your keyblades, all the leveling up of them. Then you have different armor, equipment, you have different bracelets that you can wear, where each of them will either boost your defense, your offense, or again your magic abilities. So you have different ways of playing this game, whether you want to go combat heavy, or if you want to go magic heavy, or you can just be strong defense if you want to. Then you also have your different characters. Donald, Goofy, they're your main characters that will always be your companions throughout the entire game, but as you visit each world, you will gain new companions to go along for the ride in that world. Then on top of your basic attacks, your magic abilities, you also have these extra strong attacks, and you would either do some kind of a team attack, which was really cool. Either you and Donald would get together and you would go around and spin around in a circle and all these fireworks would shoot all over, or my favorite of all, you would transform into this giant Disney ride. Either a giant Disney pirate ship would come on the screen, and it would actually be a Disney ride from the Disney amusement park. That was the coolest part right there. It was just so fun. It just added a new element, a new extra way to enjoy the combat and to have fun in this game. And on top of all of that, your sword has different transformations. The more you attack, the more your sword builds up this meter, and then all of a sudden you can unleash this transformation and your sword just turns into this ultimate weapon. And all of this combat, all of this fun fun that you're having in each one of the worlds is not the only thing in this game. There's a lot more to this game than you would think. There's a whole nother adventure going on in between each one of the worlds. The Gummy Ship. In order to travel between each one of the worlds, you would get into this giant spaceship, and at first I wasn't too sure about it. I was just kind of going along for the ride. A lot of it you can skip. A lot of it is optional. You can just go straight to your destination. But as I started to play the Gummy Ship areas, as I started to realize that you could design your very own spacecraft, you can add different shields, different boosters, different rockets onto it. So you had a whole new diverse menu option to create each one of these different battleships, and you could have multiple Gummy Ships to go along. So all of that combined, and I'm sure there are some things that I missed, because there's a lot of action, a lot of combat going on in this game. Each one of the enemy boss fights, they each have their own unique style. Each world has its own style. The Toy Story world, you actually get into these giant Toy Story mechs, and you just running around in these giant mech suits, just shooting your blasters at different enemies. So that added an entire new element to the game. Each one of the worlds, they all had different areas that you could explore, different hidden areas that had treasures, or just items that you could dig up that would add to your inventory or to your bonuses. So there was tons of exploration to do in this game, and it was always beneficial to go explore every area because you would get another treasure chest. And then later on in the game, when you get to the Pirates of the Caribbean world, this is where it opens up from a linear progressing style into an open world game. Sailing the sea in your pirate ship was my absolute favorite thing to do. There was just tons of exploration to do, and then you could dive down in the entire ocean seamlessly, and there was always tons of treasure to explore and get. So there was so many different ways to have enjoyment out of this game. So many different combat abilities and different worlds. Each one of them had their own unique game style to them. So for gameplay and combat, Kingdom Hearts 3 definitely gets a win. And then lastly, and most importantly, the story. How does this story fare in Kingdom Hearts 3? If you have never played any Kingdom Hearts games, should you jump into the third game, the one that actually ends the entire series? Should you go back and play all of them? Because it's not just Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and then now Kingdom Hearts 3. But there's Kingdom Hearts 1.5, there's Kingdom Hearts 2.8, there's so many, I can't even count them all. I'm not sure how many there are. I haven't played any of them. So will I understand this story? Will I be able to comprehend what's going on? Let's find out. As I said, Kingdom Hearts 3, progression-wise, this is the end of all the games together. This is where all the stories finally unfold. So there is a lot to tell in this game. A lot of stories, a lot of characters to get caught up on. So starting off this game, going through each one of the worlds, you know, trying to listen to this story, trying to understand what's happening, it's a little bit difficult. Trying to figure out and put the pieces together, which makes sense. Arguably, you probably should play all the other games before this one. But can you actually comprehend what's happening? I'd say yes, you can. It's not that difficult to figure out. Trying to put those pieces together, they come together pretty well. At the beginning, not so well at all, because they're introducing characters and even the characters themselves have no idea what's going on. Almost like the game itself had no idea what was going on story-wise. And as you're playing in each one of the worlds, the overall story was very secluded. It almost wasn't even in each one of the worlds. And each one of the worlds, they never really transferred over to the next. They were very contained to themselves. So when you in the Hercules world, and then when you went to the Toy Story world, and the Monsters Inc., the Tangled, the Frozen, the Pirates of the Caribbean, each world was just completely contained in itself. And I was never really too sure why you were even visiting each world to begin with. Apparently, Sora had some inner ability that he had to unlock, or some ability that he used to have but lost, so now he's trying to get it back. But they never really do a great job at exploring that more. Just, you know, filling in us, the player, on what's happening. They just keep each world contained to itself. And you know, I get that. It does make sense, you know, movie-wise to game-wise. Because you have your Toy Story world, your Monsters Inc. world, where they actually created an all-new story for Kingdom Hearts 3. Almost secondary to the movies. It was like an addition to the movies. But then you have Tangled and Frozen, where it was literally just a frame by frame of the movie. and they did a split job on telling the story from the movie. If you've seen the movie, you'll love it. I've seen every movie in this game, so I had a blast actually playing the game and going back and watching all the movies again afterward. That was the best part. But if you've never seen the movies, if you've never watched Tangled, you're not going to understand what's happening in this world, because some of the scenes, they don't make sense at all because they leave a lot out. And the Final Fantasy elements, I never really got a feel for what was it really happening throughout the entire game until the end. That's where everything really comes together. This is where it comes together. This is where you will really understand everything, even as a noob to the series if you've never played any game. So they do explain some backstory for each character, but then they give a proper farewell to them all. And if you're still really confused, in the title menu there's a memories archive where they go through and they explain all the past history of the games. They show some cutscenes, they explain some story of what previously happened in Kingdom Hearts. But at the end, that final world in Final Fantasy, that I think it's where it comes together as a whole. I had a blast in the ending. I enjoyed it so much because it was combat heavy, action heavy, a lot going on, because now all this history is being dumped onto you. So yes, it's a lot to take in at once, but again, you can put the pieces together. It's not that difficult. So story-wise, does it get a win? I say it gets a pass. 50-50, you can go one way or another. There's a lot of information to process, but you can put those pieces together. They do a fair job at explaining each one of the characters. So overall, Kingdom Hearts 3, I definitely recommend the game. Someone that's a noob to this series, but the best part of this game to get the most enjoyment out of it was just going through each one of the worlds. That was my favorite part, just being able to see these Disney movies play out on this video game, to actually feel like you're playing a role in each one of the movies. That right there was the best, and it made me want to go back and rewatch all the Disney movies. So if you're a fan of Disney, definitely gets a win. If you're a fan of Final Fantasy, I'd say it's a mediocre win. Put them all together and we get Kingdom Hearts 3. So that's going to be it for today's episode. That's going to be my impressions of Kingdom Hearts 3 as a noob. Give it a chance. I think you'll enjoy it. So thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wormys Playhouse, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. And we'll see you again for another episode. We'll see you then. Bye.